Hey everyone, Spectre here, the Game Reactionist, and this is going to be the BlizzCon 2023 ceremony presentation overview that we're going to do together today. So this is, I'm not going to go for the whole thing, I'll tell you that right off the bat, so this is going to be a curated experience. You know, we don't need to go for the entire hour and 52-minute thing here. I don't have that much to say about it, so I guess my quick disclaimer before we get started here. I'm gonna be skipping around a little bit. There's some things I'm just not gonna have an opinion on, some things I'm just not gonna care about or gonna be able to give any kind of real insight to, so we're gonna move past those pretty quickly and just focus kind of on the meat and potatoes here, just on stuff that actually I think is relevant. And yeah, that's how we're going to format this. So before we start here, obviously, I mean, if you've seen my video on my office tour, I'm a huge Blizzard guy, former huge Blizzard guy, I should say. I was a fan of Blizzard very much, for the late 90s up until pretty much the latter half of the 2000s, up until 2010-ish or so. And then that's when I would say that's when we started with the era of modern Blizzard and all the problems that came with that. And it is very much a different company nowadays. And despite having the same name on the door and the same familiar IPs behind them, it is a very different company. So I don't know if I can really call myself a Blizzard fan anymore. So, I mean, I'm coming at this as someone that has a lot of history with Blizzard as a Warcraft fan, Diablo fan, in particular. So that's where I'm coming from. That's my point of view. So I'm kind of an ex-Blizzard fan. That's how I'm viewing. That's the lens I'm viewing this through. So, like I said, we're gonna skip around a little bit here. I am watching this a couple of days. This aired originally on, I think, November 3rd or 4th, so there was it was like a Friday or something. So I'm watching this a few days late here, but we're gonna dive right into it here. I think this is the opening ceremony. Let's see here. I'm not really gonna go over much on this here at all. Although I will say I do like, I miss, because we don't have E3 anymore, so we don't really have this kind of, we used to have this kind of pageantry around gaming and stuff like that, and I kind of miss that, like these kind of like shows and things like that, and that's why, as bad as the Game Awards kind of are to some degree, I still enjoy them just because it has, I like this kind of presentation format for games. It just feels a little bit more, I don't know, organic, and then compared to just having a series of trailers over and over again. So yeah, this is we're not going to really say much here. Obviously, this is just a intro warm up here, and I didn't really have any of this spoiled for me. I did have, I mean, obviously it's hard to avoid spoilers for this stuff. I mean, it's been all over everywhere, but for the most part, I have not. I mean, I know obviously we knew even before this presentation that there was going to be a World of Warcraft expansion announcement. I mean, that's you can set your watch that it's just every 2 years, so I knew that was coming regardless. But for the most part, I've been avoiding spoilers on this. So let's go ahead and skip ahead here. Let's see.
It is so good.
I don't think we're really going to have much to say on the intro here. So what do we... we got Phil Spencer out here already. So, of course, got to talk about the elephant in the room with... maybe we'll watch this part. This is only... It's only like 7 minutes or so. Let's watch this part and just see what he has to say. Let's skip ahead to Phil Spencer here.
You know what I say to that?
Not that I'm some Phil Spencer fan or anything like that, but this is pretty topical with the acquisition and everything, so we should probably watch this.
Thank you, Mike. And hello, everybody, BlizzCon. This is my first BlizzCon ever.
Wow.
And it's great to feel the energy in the room. You are the reason we make games. Your love for these games truly is inspiring. I recently have spent so much time playing Diablo 4 with my friends. Season 2 is awesome.
Okay, I'm already regretting not skipping this here, but I said we'd watch this part.
Plan for that game. It's going to be awesome. Blizzard occupies a special place in the gaming industry, for me as well. Throughout Blizzard's history, they've pioneered and refined so much across the gaming industry, and many of you here today have been a part of that journey. Think of Diablo. It propelled the action RPG genre forward. StarCraft. Spawned the foundation of what esports.
Surprised you're even acknowledging StarCraft anymore.
And with StarCraft 2, it was a major catalyst for the evolution of games as live entertainment. World of Warcraft changed not only how people developed and supported games, but really it introduced a much wider audience to the concept of online communities. And Overwatch not only reimagined gameplay, but also
Overwatch is going to be a skip section for me. I never got into that. Never really got into the hero shooters in general.
Blizzard's influence is everywhere, and because of its enduring legacy and phenomenal revolutionary development, with a care and a craft that is incredibly rare in this industry. Our commitment at Xbox is to bring more great games to more players in more places. And now that Blizzard is part of Xbox, we will nurture the essence of what has made Blizzard unique. We're going to empower our new colleagues in a culture of trust, inclusion, and collaboration to continue what they do best, redefining existing genres, creating new, never-before-seen experiences, and uniting players globally in new ways, in Azeroth, in Sanctuary, in near-future Earth, and beyond. It has been a privilege to welcome the teams at Blizzard to Xbox, and I'm honored to be able to be here to help welcome all of you to BlizzCon 2023. Having seen what's in store for players, I can say the future of Blizzard is brighter than ever. And you all have so much to look forward to in this show. So I'll get out of here, let you see the show. Thanks everyone for the warm reception, and have a great time at BlizzCon. Thank you.
All right, well, that was a whole lot of nothing. I apologize for that. So.
How about that?
Yeah, how about that? Okay. All right, let's skip around here a little bit. I was going to try to... I said this is going to be a more curated experience. I guess I was wrong, you know, like... Let's see here. Okay, so we're going to skip Overwatch. Long story short, like I said, I'm not an Overwatch player. I'm not into the hero shooters in general. Although I did play Gundam Evolution this past year, which was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed it, especially as a Gundam fan. I really enjoyed it. And that game is actually going to be, I think it's actually shutting off like in the next couple weeks here. It's unfortunately the game just didn't take off, mostly due to a really awful monetization system in the game. But yeah, I really enjoyed that game. So it's not like I hate hero shooters. I just never really resonated with Overwatch. I don't know. It just never really, you know, got me interested in it. So we're going to skip Overwatch 2. Oh, and they go right into Diablo 4. Okay. I do know that there was a expansion announcement for Diablo 4, which, I mean, that's to be expected. I mean, every Diablo game has had some kind of expansion so far. So, I mean, that was pretty predictable. And I didn't expect something to be announced or hinted at this soon. But we're not really going to watch that part. I don't really have much to say about Diablo. I was a huge Diablo 2 fan. Diablo 2 is still, I'd argue, one of the greatest games of all time. It would be easily in my top 25 list. If Rorschach and I ever do a top 25 list, I can guarantee you that's going to be in there somewhere. Probably at a pretty decent position. I've replayed that game like 1,000 times and love it to death. Great game. Diablo 3, got that at launch. I was working at a major retailer when that came out, and I was there for the launch, and I was super excited about it. And Diablo 3 was very disappointing. It was a huge step in the wrong direction. It was the casualization of the game, and that really turned me off from the series. And then we initially for Diablo 4 we had some reasons to be excited. It seemed like it was going to be a return to form, but then they just hit us with barrage after barrage of this is going to be battle pass and pay to win, blah 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 type of stuff. And then the game came out. It's had a pretty rocky history already here. So I mean I'm not really all that in. I don't really have I don't really care about Diablo anymore. I mean, it's outside the realm of Diablo 2. I just don't care about it anymore. So I'm going to skip that section as well too. Maybe it's something I don't know. Maybe I should give it a chance. I mean, that you chime in on the comments if I'm a huge fan of Diablo 2, and I love everything about Diablo 2, and I was very disappointed in Diablo 3. Will I enjoy Diablo 4? If so, let me know in the comments. It's on Steam now. Maybe I would check it out, but I don't know. I don't feel like dropping $200 on a Diablo game or whatever they're charging for their battle pass plus ultimate edition, what the hell type of stuff, and now expansion on top of it too. So that it just doesn't seem like it's for me. So Vessel of Hatred, that's what I was looking for, the title for the expansion. So we're gonna skip that. And okay, so we're doing some kind of Warcraft montage here as the intro. Okay, how long is this? 6 minutes. Okay, we can. It looks like just like a history montage of Warcraft.
Butters, go buy World of Warcraft, install it on your computer, and join the online sensation before we all murder you. All right then.
Fantastic episode of South Park, of course. Make love, not Warcraft.
Welcome to the world of Warcraft.
All right, I think we can skip over this. What's after this here? All right, Hearthstone. So, that's right, those goofy commercials. Hearthstone, I do have a history with. I actually played that for about 3-4 years altogether, and really enjoyed it quite a bit. I actually at one point considered streaming it, and trying to do competitive Hearthstone. I was really into the game actually for a while. But just kind of got away from it really sometime around the start of the pandemic. Really, actually, right from the when the work from home stuff started, that's when I really started losing interest in it, because Hearthstone was sort of my side game to play when there was downtime essentially, and I lost that I lost the incentive to play it when kind of everyone was kind of forced to go back home. So I don't know, I lost interest in the game. I like card games a lot. I was really into Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic and stuff like that, but and Hearthstone I really enjoyed, but I don't know. It just kind of lost its magic for me. It became kind of crazy and power creepy with a lot of its expansions over time, and they introduced a lot of different stuff to it that I didn't really care for. But the core game was a lot of fun, especially the first year or two of the game was a lot of fun. So I don't really probably just another expansion they're revealing here, right? Let's see. Showdown in the Badlands. So yeah, it's another expansion. They do 4 or 5 expansions a year at least for this. So that's it looks like some kind of Western themed expansion, which is not terribly interesting for me. I'm not really into Westerns either, so that's not even interesting to any degree to me. So we're gonna skip over Hearthstone here. Or I mean, if Hearthstone is better now, I mean, I haven't played it probably actively since 2021, maybe 2020. So if the game is awesome now or something, let me know. Sound off in the comments on that. But I mean, I don't imagine it's changed all that much. But I mean, I was pretty disillusioned with it at the time. So maybe if it's really awesome now, let me know. Maybe I'll give it a shot again. Maybe stream that a little bit. Try that out. Okay, so we knew this was coming here too. Warcraft Rumble. We're not going to go over this too much. I know I'm skipping a lot here, but I warned you ahead of time. I'm an old Blizzard fan, old school Blizzard fan. Pretty much everything after 2010-ish here has been kind of a disaster. I know you could probably say that about a lot of different franchises and companies, but in media in general. But in particular, Blizzard, it's really it fell off a cliff. I mean, you had think about it. You started off the millennium here with Warcraft 3, World of Warcraft. Diablo 2 was still pretty fresh at the time, and still very actively played. You know, I mean, it was this really great creative time. There's a lot of hope and optimism. You know, good solid expansions for World of Warcraft even. And then everything just, I think for me, Diablo 3 is really the turning point. That's when everything kind of just sort of fell apart for Blizzard. That was the beginning of new Blizzard for me. So after that point, things just kind of fell off a cliff for me. And not much joy was to be had after that point. But I mean, I always hold out hope that maybe some of the magic can be recaptured. But so far, it just hasn't really happened yet. But Warcraft Rumble, this was the mobile game. I mean, Hearthstone itself is a mobile game, but this is their, another attempt to, to try to cash in on that. Which, I mean, I guess you can't really blame them because, I mean, there's still tons of money in mobile. So, I mean, here, let's get to the gameplay of this. What the hell is this exactly? They talked about this before, but like, what's the hook to this?
So,
like,
if you've ever wanted to see Jaina command an army of Murlocs, or Grom lead a horde of angry chickens, apparently.
Okay, so it's just more goofy shit like Hearthstone is. It's just. I mean, and that's not necessarily a bad thing about Hearthstone. I like the comedy, and Blizzard's always been, it's had a very. There's been a very comedic kind of through line for all of Blizzard's games as well too. But I mean, it's kind of been balanced to some degree. Like, this is just cartoon shit. Like, I mean, can you show me the actual game here? So it's some kind of like tower defense type of thing here. Yeah, it looks like some sort of tower defense type of thing. Yeah, okay, that's a pretty hard pass from me. Yeah. I'm not a mobile game player in general, but yeah, that looks like a pretty hard pass here. Okay. All right, World of Warcraft Classic. Okay, so finally we're getting to actual content here in this next section here. So let's jump into this next section here. And
oh, I'm so excited to see you all here.
Okay, we'll probably watch pretty much this whole section here because this is actually relevant to me. I'll pause it just for a second before she starts. So, Classic is really, in my opinion, the only way to really actually enjoy the game anymore. I mean, World of Warcraft was I'm not going to get on a huge World of Warcraft like rant or anything, but I mean, World of Warcraft to me, it was fantastic at its highest point, really, in vanilla. It was a fantastic game experience. And really kind of balanced in some ways between PvP and PvE in a way that we never really saw again, because you had World PvP, which was awesome and was kind of destroyed in subsequent expansions. You had raiding that was fun, pretty accessible, at least until you get to like the Naxxramas kind of level. And there's a lot of interplay between the PvP and PvE. It was just a really it was lightning in a bottle. It was really a special time, and it was just a really special experience. And Classic, for all its faults, it tries to kind of recapture that. I mean, you can't really ever go back to 2004, when I first started playing the game. You can never really go back to that experience. I mean, everyone's coming in, min-maxing, and everyone knows, the game, backwards and forwards at this point. But still, there's something magical about vanilla World of Warcraft that it still gets me back. It's still to the point where if my my cousin called me up right now, and him and I, we played it for years and years and years together. And he says, "Hey, we're gonna go on a new Classic server together." I would take up the call instantly. Just that's how much the game still resonates with me after all this time, almost 20 years later. So I played World of Warcraft Classic, really loved that experience, and kind of stopped after the Classic Burning Crusade. Came back a little bit with Wrath, and kind of just sort of fell away from it. And life kind of got in the way too. So kind of moved on from that. I did really enjoy Season of Mastery. Had a lot of fun with that. That was a fun experience. I think there's a lot more you could do with kind of a Classic Plus experience. Season of Mastery basically just was Classic, with a couple of added raid mechanics, a couple tweaks to difficulty for things, which made things a little bit more interesting for the raids, which have been kind of thoroughly conquered before. I actually added a little bit of an element of a challenge to raiding again, but I had a fun time with that. But I just kind of things kind of fizzle out eventually. Kind of just you kind of want to move on to other stuff. So I mean, I think myself and a lot of the the kind of the old school community, we really yearn for some kind of classic plus experience, and we just haven't really gotten that yet. And I know private servers actually have kind of to some degree tried to do that and attempted to do that, and to some varying degrees of success from what I'm hearing. But it'd be nice to see like an actual concerted effort from Blizzard, even new Blizzard, to do a take on take the core of classic and just add on some new things to it, and some meaningful new content. Don't muddle the mixture. Don't destroy what made classic great. But don't turn classic into retail WoW, which is terrible. But make it kind of add some new stuff for old vets to enjoy too. So kind of after laying the groundwork there, let's get started here with the classic section, and then then we have the huge section here. I knew Chris Metzen was in here as well too. So we'll talk about that when we get to that section for Retail WoW, which I'm not going to have as much to say about Retail WoW, but we will watch and skip around that section a little bit for the highlights. So let's get started with WoW Classic, though. Let's probably watch this whole section.
World of Warcraft for almost 20 years. 2004 was a while ago, right? Some of us, we waited in those lines for those midnight releases and got our discs. Yeah! And we raced home to install those WoW discs one by one.
That was a great experience. I remember standing in line for like Burning Crusade expansion, and it came in like a whole bunch of discs. You had to, that was back in the good old days.
Sylvanas, Arthas, and Thrall, and of course, so many others. And together we've jumped through the portal into Outland. We sailed off into Northrend, and we watched Sargeras stab the world with that sword. During that time, gaming has changed, and you have changed, and so have we, particularly in the past year. I'm
surprised they can still draw a crowd. I mean, they're doing these pan shots over the audience here. I mean, it looks like it's fairly full. I mean,
listening to your voices and taking action.
I heard they were having trouble selling tickets, but I guess
my friends at Blizzcon,
they filled the seats up.
Now is the perfect time to prepare to close chapters, open new ones, and double down on why we all fell in love with World of Warcraft in the first place.
I'm assuming we're just going to get Cataclysm Classic, which is, if that's the case, that's really disappointing.
And of course, most of you know that still drives us today. Like just in August, inspired by our community, we released Classic Hardcore.
I'll pause here. I didn't play hardcore. My cousin, good buddy, and everything. He played hardcore for a little bit. I guess I didn't understand the concept of hardcore. Maybe I'm fundamentally a PvP player, so I didn't really get the. I guess I don't get hardcore. Like, I mean, it seemed kind of like a weird concept to me. Like, it's permadeath, but you can't. PvP is like basically disabled more or less on that server. Like, you don't actually. You have to essentially like duel somebody, and they have to consent to the duel to actually engage in PvP, even cross faction. So it's just really weird to me. Like the leveling experience in World of Warcraft was never like extremely challenging, at least compared to like other games where it's really easy to accidentally die. I mean, the only times you really die in World of Warcraft, especially in vanilla, in a PvE setting, were I mean at max level, obviously, like when you're raiding, or if you're just being really careless, or you go, AFK in a bad spot or something like that. I mean, like, it wasn't really like, I mean, I guess maybe it makes it a little bit more exciting. I don't get hardcore. I mean, I would get how hardcore would be pretty cool with like PvP added, like non-consensual PvP, and like a free-for-all world PvP. That would be fun. I mean, I'm sure that would be very like annoying and infuriating for a lot of people. And I once upon a time I played on a Dark Age of Camelot server, for that game, they had a server very much like that, where it was just complete anarchy. You could just kill everybody around you, and there was very few restrictions on it. And yeah, it was not for everyone, but I mean, it was sure as hell. It was pretty damn fun. I mean, I had a good time with that. It's I don't know. I would welcome like a hardcore PvP server. Like that would be kind of fun. So maybe that's what they're talking about, like some kind of variation on that.
So, in hardcore, you only get one life. And if you die, you may laugh, you may cry, you may have to replace a keyboard, but you go again. We've loved watching you take on the challenge or die trying. And because the hardcore community has asked, the team is planning to add a new way to play hardcore early next year.
Okay, so is that PvP or like what's being
in
asked?
Wrath Classic, we
Okay, I guess we're not gonna know. Okay.
Lich King patch. And while there's still more to come in Wrath, earlier this year we looked at your feedback to think about where are we gonna go next. We read through a lot.
It's probably just going to be, I mean, what's the laziest option here? Probably just Cataclysm, right? Just go right to the next expansion, probably. That's what's going to happen, right?
And here at BlizzCon, we're happy to announce Cataclysm is coming.
Yep. Yeah.
And
don't care.
It's coming with hashtag changes based on your feedback. Just like you'd expect.
Well, unless they're changing it to a different expansion, I don't really give a shit. Cataclysm was the expansion that really broke World of Warcraft. I mean, and not just for me. I'm not in isolation with that. You can look at numbers for it. It's been really suggested that was the time when people really started to diverge from the game. Wrath in a lot of ways was sort of, you could say the culmination of World of Warcraft up until that point was sort of the it kind of wrapped up stories going, the main kind of plot almost from Warcraft 3 really. So that was neat. That was interesting. Even just from a lore standpoint, it was interesting. But then we got Cataclysm, and Cataclysm did a number of things that I guess were a sign it kind of showed the shape of things to come. We got I think that was the start of the whole Thrall is kind of like this Jesus-like character thing. I think the Cataclysm is kind of where that started, from what I recall. I know Cataclysm is where they really dumbed down and kind of pruned the talent trees. That's where they made like a major purge of them around that time. I believe it was Cataclysm where they changed that. Yeah, it's just kind of and it also of course it permanently changed the old world of the setting. It changed a lot of zones permanently essentially, and it kind of really signaled a change. Really from kind of classic World of Warcraft of the original vanilla and the first couple expansions, and kind of this new paradigm. So yeah, I Cataclysm's when I left the game. I was pretty full time into the game up until Cataclysm, and even this trailer isn't nearly as cool as the actual CG trailer from the original. So that would have been the laser option. They should have just played the CG trailer, the original CG trailer. That was actually really cool. Blizzard, to their credit, they usually still make really good CG trailers. Whoever's behind their actual full computer graphic trailers is they do usually a great job. So they should have just played that original one, because it still holds up to this day. But yeah, I got out of the game in Cataclysm, and I really didn't actually come back to the game until 4 expansions later, or 3 or 4 expansions later with Legion. Really enjoyed Legion. If they would have skipped ahead to Legion, I probably would have been a little bit hyped. But yeah, I just don't care. I don't know. Are people excited about this, to play Cataclysm again? People were excited to play Vanilla again. People were excited for TBC. People were especially excited for Wrath. And I don't... very tepid response from the audience there. Yeah, I don't think does anyone care about that? But that's okay. What about? Are we gonna get like any kind of other? We still got a lot to this section here.
Get ready, my friends, because the
Get ready,
by the way. Get ready, my friends, because the road.
Oh, okay, we might get some more news here.
Is coming in the first half of next year.
So we're really just gonna do this. We're gonna do Cataclysm, and we're gonna do Mist of Pandaria, Classic, and it's gonna reach the point of absurdity eventually. You're gonna have Warlords of Draenor Classic, and are you gonna get all the way up to Dragonflight Classic? I mean, it's kind of getting a little silly.
With a seasonal note and a dash of discovery. Season of Discovery is vanilla.
Okay, so what's this?
Spicy twist. You're going to discover new secrets as you scour the world.
Oh, okay. So, this
altering abilities.
Okay, I think I know what this is.
Have you ever wondered what it might be like to be a tanking warlock?
Oh, okay. So this was sort of spoiled for me. So
in Season of Discovery,
she's hyping it up here, and it sounds really, really interesting at first, but or it can kind of goofy too. But really, what's the reality of what Season of Discovery is a little bit more disappointing, at least from what I've seen of it so far, what I've been told so far. I guess what happens is you have like certain like runes or abilities you can slot into your characters, and it's kind of like a sort of like a sub spec to your class essentially, and it's a lot of it. The abilities are basically just it's like injecting retail WoW into classic more or less. It's just taking retail WoW abilities and just injecting them into classic, which is not good. That's just retail WoW has this kind of homogenization where every class can sort of do everything. And that's not what vanilla was. Vanilla was classes had different roles, they did different things, and not everybody could do everything, and that was okay, And so this isn't nearly as exciting as it would sound here. I mean, I don't know. It's still classic, vanilla WoW. So
there will be no public testing.
Might be worth checking out a little bit at least. I don't know. We'll see if. I'll see if my cousin wants to play it with me. Maybe I'll do a little bit of streaming of it, but I don't know. A lot, any hype that I could have had for that was sort of like, the wind's out of my sails already here, because it's like, okay, so basically the most creative thing they could think of for Classic Plus was to just take, a handful of retail WoW abilities and just shove them into Classic. I mean, we still have like, it's amazing to me like the private, private servers are doing this stuff better than these multi-billion-dollar companies and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy to me. Like, hire fans. It's just, I guess that's the message. Okay, so we're in retail WoW now here. So the quality has any quality that was left has left the room here. I like I said, I've not been into retail WoW since Legion, which Legion is showing its age now. Legion is like what, 3 or 4 expansions back now, so we're going back quite a bit already. So I don't know. I'm sure people play Dragonflight, but it's not many here. So
there we will have our final showdown.
Okay, yeah. So they're capping off Dragonflight here. Let's get into. Okay, yeah. So Chris Metzen's here. Metzen, so he's kind of an interesting character too. So he left the company, came. They kind of brought him back here to sort of like, I guess, fix things to some degree. But that's going to be quite the the Herculean effort it's going to take to really to fix retail WoW. I don't really know if retail WoW is fixable. I think you have to just kind of like wash your hands of it and just start over with like a World of Warcraft 2 or something at this point. Like I think that's how I would fix retail WoW at this point. It just needs to end, and we need to hit the reset button and start over. But let's skip ahead to that here. We're not going to watch this whole section here, but let's.
This spot, I tell you that. It has been interesting this past year being back under the hood of World of Warcraft. It has reminded me of a few things. One, Chris
Metzen, of course, voice of Thrall, and other characters too. He's got that very a very powerful voice. You know, he'd be a great, like, I'd love to play like Dungeons and Dragons with him. I've never done Dungeons and Dragons, but I know he seems like he'd be a fun guy to have for like the dungeon master leading the group. You know.
Amazing to be back and part of
So
this
I got nothing against the guy. I just think, like, I mean, you know, it's like being appointed, you know, captain of the Titanic after it's already sinking. It's like, I mean, what can you really do? You know, you can rearrange the deck chairs a little bit, and you can, you know, try to make the best of the situation. But it's like, what do you really do? The ship's going down. You got to start over at that point. You got to just accept it and just, you know, deal with the facts.
I love you, prison. So given that, what was that? Doesn't matter. We started thinking, so what next, right? What expansion hook, what single storyline could possibly match such a historic occasion? We started thinking about, well, I did, the good old days, right? And some of those early
like 20 years ago
that kind of established the background of Warcraft. Started thinking about even some of the newer ideas that have played out more recently, but still in a way feel a little unresolved. And in the mix of all that stuff, in the mix of all those ideas, particular things like, what the hell has Magni actually been babbling about all these years? Was the thing that he came to warn us about in Battle for Azeroth, did it actually play out? Or is there potentially something darker still looming on the horizon? I don't know. Will there eventually be an apocalyptic confrontation between the forces of the light and the void? Talk to me, Blizzcon. I'll tell you what, for nothing, my pally Maine, I'm all in on that kind of thing if it happens. It's gonna happen. And really the big question for all the marbles, what have the Titans actually been doing since the dawn of civilization? What is the real purpose of all of their cute little installations slammed into the side of the planet? Do we know everything we need to know about their real intentions for our world? Just saying.
You can kind of hear the thrall in his voice kind of come out every once in a while. It's kind of cool.
And 100 more. 68, carry the 2. A bunch more. All cooking in the pot. Started to reveal a storyline. Something epic. How epic? Real epic. A storyline that in almost every way,
whatever it is, it can't possibly be worse than what we've experienced in the last like couple expansions here.
Of our storytelling. A storyline provided we do our jobs, we do the thing that will vector us into the next 20 years of adventure.
So are they gonna like? Are finally gonna like cap off the story and start something new then? Like, is this gonna be like Warhammer Fantasy, like End Times type of thing, where they sort of like hit a reset, like a reset button on things here?
The World Soul Saga is so epic, as we covered. It cannot be contained within any single expansion. It is built to play out over multiple expansions over the next few years. Come on now.
So they're dividing expansions up here.
Having said that, we are working on multiple ways to deliver this adventure to you a little faster than you're used to. We're not going to get into it at this BlizzCon, forgive me. But keep your ears peeled. I assure you, we are moving with purpose. And the last thing we really want is for y'all to have your grandkids controlling your mouse and your keyboard trying to wrap this thing up. So, it's coming.
I mean, he is the right guy to have out here for this. I mean, it's like
given the scale of this monster, we have decided to change it up today. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Instead of just debuting your next expansion all on its lonesome, we have decided to give you a glimpse at your next 3 expansion sets.
What?
Does this meet with your approval, BlizzCon?
I knew there was like something being announced, but I know it was like 3 of them.
My friends, I'm going to warn you, there may be mild spoilers ahead. Actually, I'm just kidding. They ain't mild. Buckle up. Are you ready, BlizzCon?
So that's going to be what, like $150 or so plus just to get this full story. That I'm assuming these are going to be full price expansions.
And your 10th expansion is called World of Warcraft: The War Within. In this chapter, you will be descending into the heart of Azeroth itself, exploring new subterranean kingdoms and engaging with.
So that rumor was true.
Like
there was the rumor that it was going to be kind of like a dwarf-centered expansion coming, underground kind of centered expansion. So that part of it was the gist of it. It sounds like it's true.
Darkness close in around our precious world soul. You, yeah, that's you, will be called to do what you always do, which is dispense indiscriminate justice upon all those who got it coming. Talk to me, BlizzCon! The second part of the World Soul Saga is called World of Warcraft: Midnight.
Okay.
In this chapter, you will be returning, ready, to the old world, to the fabled lands of Quel'Thalas. There, the forces of the Void have invaded Azeroth, intent on snuffing out the light of the Sunwell and plunging the world into darkness and fear. You will not only help reunify the scattered.
So this is kind of something they've it's been hinted at for a while now. This whole kind of the ultimate super special bad guys of the Warcraft universe have kind of been retconned into these Void Lord entities. So it sounds like that's going to be kind of the focus of this. This 3 expansions, I guess.
Things may just.
So I mean this, what he was saying, like where this is going to go for like the next 20 years after this. I'm assuming this is going to be some sort of like, kind of like I was saying, like sort of like is it going to be like a Warhammer fantasy type of thing, like end time? Like is this going to like last type? Like is this going to like reset the universe then, or like how is that going to work? So maybe this is their path to like a WoW 2. Or at least that's how I would do it. Excuse me. That's how I would do it. Is just maybe that's how they're planning this. So by like 2026 or whatever, when I think he said we're going to Northrend for that one. I won't be going. Like I said, I don't play retail WoW, but I'll be watching the cutscenes, you know, and laughing as they come out. I'm sure.
One that stretches throughout the history of the world. One that will challenge everything you think you know about the Titans, their intentions, and the true nature of Azeroth itself. In time, my friend, in time. And it's called Silithus. There you go. Blizzcon, my hope, our dear hope, is that you can see when it comes to WoW storytelling, we ain't screwing around.
Okay, looks like we get we
are
got
playing for all the marbles. We are working to establish a
CG
heartbeat for this
a CG trailer here too, so we'll watch that.
now.
I've been really trying to avoid like heavy spoilers for everything, so I mean it's this.
Now, Blizzcon.
But it's hard too because it's like, you know, I mean you get bombarded with this shit, you know,
Always wanted to
the
say
second
that.
it comes out.
Thank you. Whether you are.
So yeah, so a controversial thing here with this is, I mean, so 3 expansions. I mean, I'm assuming they have to be charging a full price for those.
A few expansions ago.
You know, so that's, I mean,
Now is the time to come home.
yeah, it's.
Now is the time.
So you have your subscription fee, and then you got,
Pick
you
up
know,
your
3
broadsword or
expansions
your favorite glowy staff
to pay for
and
here.
get
It's like,
in this fight. Friends, Azeroth needs her defenders now more than ever. Now, in a few moments, we are going to give you a deeper look at the war within. But before we do that, I want to leave you with a little something to chew on. I want to remind you all that sometimes very epic things can begin with small, heartfelt moments. What you're about to see is one of those moments. And with that, BlizzCon, proud defenders of Azeroth, let the World Soul Saga begin.
I mean, he's a great presenter. What can you say? I mean, is that? Oh, well, Anduin. Okay. Looks a little bit more haggard here. I mean, after all this time, they still make these really nice CG, you know, cutscenes, everything.
Is that it?
Trailers.
You needed time. We stayed away. But time by itself heals nothing.
You didn't just come here for me. It's the visions. You've seen them.
I suspect many have lately. Something Someone is calling out from the heart of the world, like a voice from a dream. Something dark is coming, Anduin. The world needs your light again. My son.
I am not that person anymore. I have no light. Not after what I've seen. Not after what I've done.
So as I recall, I didn't play for Shadowlands, but he kind of became like this sort of like
not your past
puppet, like of the big bad in that expansion, the Jailer or whatever. As I recall, Alex, I didn't play Shadowlands really. At least I didn't do like the raids, but I saw the cutscenes and stuff secondhand.
Hear me.
They're getting worse. Look. Whatever's coming, I'll stand.
This isn't really like a high impact trailer like we're used to. I mean, usually there's a lot more like action and epicness to an expansion trailer.
Who is it, Thrall? Who's calling out to us?
Seems very like low key.
I'm not sure yet. But that sword was aimed at someone.
I'm not as up to date on the lore, but I mean, aren't these characters like aware of like like what Azeroth is? It's like it's kind of a titan or whatever yet to be birthed or whatever, sort of like a dormant titan. Like I think they're like kind of aware of that, and that's what I know. That's what Magni's usually that character's usually babbling about.
I guess we're not
But,
ignoring that sword anymore. I do have to say, though, every time I see that cinematic, and I've seen it many times, it gets me right in my heart. It feels like a new beginning, and it feels like coming home. And we are so excited about where we are going. And now that you've seen or heard the
okay, let's see.
saga, let's talk about the war within. As we all gather and explore beneath the surface, we'll find an ancient Nerubian civilization. They will be led by someone we were first introduced to in Legion, Xal'atath, a harbinger of the Void. The Void brings destruction and darkness that threatens all light in our world.
I'm trying to remember who that is. I played for Legion. I'm trying to remember who that is.
She promised we would meet again, and it turns out she was right.
Maybe one of the Void Elves or something.
And while Anduin, Thrall, and others share the same...
Yeah, let's skip ahead a little bit here. I mean, it is cool that they're bringing the Nerubians back. The Nerubians always, they're like these race of like, spider people or whatever. I mean, they always had a really kind of cool design to them. Yeah. So I mean, they give you all that epic, like, oh, this is the world soul, saga and all that stuff. But really, it's just, I mean, it's your typical, four new zones here and a couple of raids. It's just what I mean. What's there's nothing like all that. This is some new talent, abilities, or whatever. So they're doing the dynamic flight stuff on, I guess, all mounts then. Yeah, I mean, I mean, there's, like, what's there really to be excited about here, other than the prospect of like maybe the story is finally reaching some sort of conclusion.
Rests upon the edge of a knife.
I think that's supposed to be Illyria, Windrunner or whatever.
Lies deep.
I think Sylvanas' sister, that blonde elf we just saw before there. Or high elf, whatever.
In the War Within, alongside...
Alright, I think that's kind of wrapping it up here. Let's see what's the end here. What's this?
The facial hair options are spectacular. There's so much more to talk about, so please join the What Next panel that's coming up right after the opening ceremony right here. What I can tell you, though, is that the call to get into the fight to save our world will ring out when the War Within releases next year. And lastly, I sincerely want to say, we are so excited to begin this new journey with you. And from our hearts to yours, thank you for bringing our world to life.
All right, enough of that. So, okay. Well, that's Exhibit A. This whole presentation I would submit as, this is why I just don't care for Modern Blizzard anymore. I mean, let's go through it here. Okay, so yeah, okay, yeah, so they're part of Microsoft now, which is great. Oh yeah, great, yeah, even better now. And Overwatch, I don't care about it. And I've heard a lot of people review bombing Overwatch 2, and they're not a fan of Overwatch 2. I guess it's kind of just a repackaged version of the first game, from my understanding. But I mean, I'm no expert, but I mean that's just what I'm hearing. That's just how it's being told to me. Diablo 4, a series that really, like I said, it fell from grace. I mean, I remember being even all the way up through high school, I was playing Diablo 2. And when the game was kind of past its prime, I would always go back to it and replay it, and you just there was just so much replayability to it, going back to playing different classes and different specs to it, and that was like the starkest comparison there. Like I probably did like dozens of playthroughs of Diablo 2, and different characters and stuff like that, and then Diablo 3 I think I did like 2 playthroughs. And I think the second playthrough was really just to get like trophies at the time or something like that. So, it really fell off with Diablo 3, and then Diablo 4. Really, the most all I know about the game is it was the battle pass stuff and buy this, buy that to it. It just seemed like it just seemed like the monetization stuff was all you really heard about for the game. I don't know. Like I say, comments below if I should give Diablo 4 a try, especially with the expansion pack coming out. I'd be willing to entertain the idea. I did hear, at least it was billed as like a return to form, but I don't know. I just it's such a fall from grace from Diablo 2, and Warcraft. I mean, Hearthstone. Okay, Hearthstone. I don't know what could really get me back into Hearthstone at this point. I think it's I've kind of moved on from Hearthstone at this point, I think. But, Warcraft Rumble, that's just going to be a cash-in. Hopefully that fades pretty quickly here. WoW Classic, okay. Talking about that again, Cataclysm, I mean, that was as predictable as the sunrise. I mean, we knew that was probably coming. And, it is what it is. It seems like it's kind of perplexing to me. I mean, so they claim to base this on like survey data and stuff like that. I mean, is this really what people want? Is more is to play Cataclysm again of all things? Like, I mean, I don't know. Even it's just, at the time it just really turned me and a lot of other people off to the game. And we were rabid fans. I was on WoW since day one, really. Literally, and that's the expansion that broke me. That's the expansion that got me to just not to care about the game, and it was hard to really even spark any kind of enthusiasm for the game until like 3 or 4 expansions later, where I'm just like, nostalgia bug kind of came in. We didn't have Classic at the time yet either, so it's like, well, I guess I'll try Legion, and I kind of enjoyed it then. But yeah, Cataclysm, I'll be avoiding that, and then that Season of Discovery thing. I'll see if my cousin wants to play that. I like I said, I'm concerned that it's going to be just a, you know, if what I've been told about it's true, that it's been just a smattering of retail WoW abilities, shoved into classic WoW, clumsily. I don't know if that's going to be interesting to me. I might give it a try just because the core vanilla experience, like I said, is so good that I might give it a try just for that if I have somebody to play it with. But this isn't what we wanted from Classic Plus, and it's we wanted a more of a just something more substantial than this. It could have just been. I guess the way I would have done it, fresh classic servers, maintain the original classic experience, and then we add on new raids. Maybe we add on like a new zone with different PvP content. Maybe you could experiment with adding on like a different ability or whatever, or class even. I don't know. I mean, just something different you knew. There's a lot of different directions you could have taken this in, other than just really lazily just, let's grab a couple of abilities from retail and just, put them over here where they don't belong. So, I don't know. I mean, like I said, we'll see if my cousin wants to give it a shot, but I'm in isolation, I'm not really enthused about it. And then this whole, 3 expansions at once, we're World Soul Saga, whatever stuff, and I mean, in this cutscene, I gotta say, it was really... there wasn't really a lot going on here. Like, I mean, for an expansion, like cinematics, trailer should really like be action packed and exciting. I mean, go back and watch, other expansion, even for the bad expansions. Go back and watch like Warlords of Draenor wasn't really well received, but watch the trailer for that. The trailer like is awesome for that expansion. And same with Legion. I mean, like, go back and watch those trailers. Those get you excited about the expansion. Like, this does not get me excited about whatever's coming next year. These next 3 expansions. I'm assuming this is going to be some sort of, like I said, like some sort of like fantasy Warhammer. Like, this is going to culminate and wrap up the story, and maybe then we hit this big galactic reset button. Now that the Void Lords are sort of the last big bad that they have like in reserve here, that they've been building up for a while, that at least that I'm aware of, having some knowledge of the lore. So after the Void Lords are inevitably defeated by the end of this, or maybe they're not defeated, maybe they win at the end, and that's kind of what resets the universe, sort of like Warhammer did. And we start with a whole new universe of different characters, different etc. So I mean, that could be the only interesting thing to see about this, is like, where do they go after that that last Titan expansion? Like, what happens to World of Warcraft after that? Do we get like a WoW 2 or something at that point, or where do they go from there? Because it sounds like they want this to just keep continuing forever and ever and ever. So I'd be curious to see where they go with it. But I'll be watching it from the sidelines, because I'm not enthused by retail WoW. And I mean, retail WoW is just, I'll have to make a whole separate video explaining why I'm just not into that anymore. But it looks like this is just more of the same. This is just another standard expansion, except they just announced 3 of them at once. And like I said, you're gonna be paying, I'm assuming you're gonna be paying full price for each one of them. So brace your wallets for that. But yeah, so yeah, that's BlizzCon 2023. It's kind of what I expected it to be. I'm kind of, even more disappointed than I thought it would be with the WoW Classic stuff. I mean, I figured, probably would have a Cataclysm announcement, but I was hoping for something a little bit more substantial for like a Classic Plus experience. But this Season of Discovery stuff does not, I don't know, it just doesn't really intrigue me. It just sounds kind of goofy and like something that'll just be forgotten very quickly. For the they had that small kind of announcement for WoW Hardcore in there. Hopefully that new way to play they're talking about is some kind of variant of non-consensual PvP. Like an actual, like, God forbid we have like PvP with some stakes to it, right? Where you can actually die. And I mean, that just seems like that would be, you think that would lend itself really well to streaming too, like, just you're watching your, just from that point of view, like a stream watching point of view, like, it'd be fun to watch, somebody. I don't really watch like WoW streaming, but I kind of would want to watch that just because of the random chance that somebody's leveling or whatever, and then all of a sudden they get ganked by somebody, and it's just like, that sounds kind of, I mean, it's silly and stupid, but it also sounds kind of fun and random. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it would frustrate the hell out of a lot of people, but I'm a PvP player, so my bias is always for PvP. That's just where I'm coming from. And I was kind of born and raised on Dark Age of Camelot, which was a PvP focused MMO, probably the most PvP focused MMO you could argue. And that's just always where my bias is coming from. But yeah, no, thanks so much for watching. This was I mean, it was still shorter than the, I kind of tried to make this a little bit faster for everybody. This was still, we're at a little over an hour here, so this was shorter than the actual presentation itself. I mean, including my thoughts here as well, interjected in. Just kind of the curated experience of BlizzCon here. And yeah, I mean, I'll we'll see about Discovery. I might try that out. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot else to look forward to here. I'll be honest. This is just, yeah. I'm definitely an old school Blizzard fan. I'm not a modern Blizzard fan, and nothing here is convincing me to change course in any way, shape, or form. But thanks so much for watching, everybody. This was kind of a long one here, but. We'll have some more content coming up here soon. I kind of like doing these more like intimate one-on-one style, kind of vlogging type of videos as well too. So I'm gonna have a few more of these coming up too. I want to go over the new RoboCop game. I want to talk about. I'm gonna have a follow-up video for speaking of garbage here and disappointment. I have a follow-up video. We're gonna talk a little bit about Silent Hill Ascension, and now that that's actually out there. And there's a website up and everything with a battle pass of its own. So we'll talk about that. So that video is going to be coming pretty soon too. But thanks so much for watching. Please go ahead, like I said, give me a comment on, like I said, if I should give Diablo 4 a shot or not. I'm not like opposed to the idea of trying it. So let me know about that. But let me know what you think about all this. Particularly the World of Warcraft news, that's where I'm interested in mostly. Everything else is kind of like blah, whatever. But thanks so much for watching. Please go ahead and do all the YouTube jazz and stuff. Subscribe, thumbs up, etc., etc. We really appreciate it, and appreciate you watching here. But once again, I am Spectre with the Game Reactionist. This was BlizzCon, a very disappointing, as expected, BlizzCon 2023. And we'll talk to you soon here.